Hello everyone, this is Steve Huff at SteveHuffPhoto.com, and I am here today with the Sony A7S. S is for sensitivity, because this guy can shoot in pitch blackness or near pitch blackness, and I should know because I've had it out every single day for the past 2-3 weeks, and I've shot in some near pitch black conditions. And not only did this guy focus, autofocus, without the AF assist light, it delivered shots that brightened up the room. My eyes were seeing darkness, the camera and the file coming out at 80,000 ISO or 102,000 ISO. It lit up the scene like I was shooting in daylight. And the kicker is you can shoot at 80,000 ISO and get usable files. Heck, I even did some at 102,400, or is it 600? Anyway, that's as far as I want to go with the ISO, even though this guy goes all the way up to past 400,000 ISO. Now imagine 400,000 ISO. It's not really usable, but as I said, I've been doing some experiments with it in really dark conditions. I shot an image at 80,000 ISO, 1/10 of a second, and it was usable. It looked really good. It looked like maybe 800 or 1600 ISO film. So imagine shooting at 80,000 ISO and have the results look like 1600 ISO film. That's what you get out of the A7S. Now, the A7S is not just for low light shooters. I'm here to tell you with confidence that the A7S is a jack of all trades and master of all, really. Now, it's 12 megapixels. It's a brand new sensor from Sony, and it has their latest processing engine, the Bions X or whatever it's called. But I can tell you right now, I've shot the A7, I've shot the A7R, both of them extensively. I've shot them with the Sony lenses, I've shot them with Leica lenses, M-mount lenses, I should say, and I really enjoyed them. But there were a couple things that got to me with those cameras. The A7R was way too loud. The shutter was like a Sherman tank clucking through town, and at the end of the day, it was just very loud. The A7 was a little bit better in the shutter sound department because it wasn't as loud, because you can do that first curtain option. And but the AF was not the best in low light, and it wasn't that speedy. I mean, it was good, it was great, but compared to cameras like the Olympus EM1, the AF was a little lacking. Now, these are full-frame cameras. That means you're getting the big, fat, full-frame sensor. And I can tell you that 12 megapixels on a full-frame sensor is going to be the magic formula for what the Sony A7 gives you. And what does it give you? It gives you more speed. The shutter in this is actually a little more damped than the standard A7 and A7R. It's not as loud. I took it to a friend's house who has the A7R, and he freaked out when he pressed the shutter because he's like, holy cow, mine's like twice as loud. So I did get verification that it is a little more damped and quiet in my opinion. You have the silent shooting mode on the A7S, which means you can shoot in silence. Nobody will know you took a picture. It uses an electronic shutter, and I have used it in all situations. I've used it in pitch blackness at 80,000 ISO, no problem. And it's quiet, it's stealth. So you can use this thing on the street in pure silence, direct silence, I should say, total silence. Video, you can shoot video at 102,000 ISO, and you're going to get good looking video. Now I'm talking about in the dark. I shot some video at 102,000 ISO, and it looks damn good. Basically, the Sony A7S does things that no other camera in existence as of July 2014 can do. A Canon 5D Mark III can't do what this does. There's no Fuji that can do what this does. And there is no previous Sony that can do what this does. You have, like I said, the same body as the A7 series. This is an A7S, so it's going to have the same body as the A7R, for example. Same EVF, same LCD, same shape, same controls. Everything is there, except you're getting that 12 megapixel sensor with those, the big fat photo sites on it. So you're collecting more light, and you're going to get minimal noise. As you can see, the back of the A7S is exactly the same as the other A7 cameras. But I'm here to tell you, this guy is faster focusing, more responsive overall, quieter. You can go to dead silence if you want, has tremendous video quality, and the image quality, you can print 20 by 30s without an issue. I used to own a Nikon D2HS, which was a 4 megapixel APS-C sensor. I printed several 20 by 40s, and I remember people stopping by to look, and they were like, oh my goodness, you must have a massive professional camera. Those prints are gorgeous. The only people that are going to have a problem with 12 megapixels, and the A7S taught me this. I used to think I needed 24 megapixels or at least 16. I never really cared for the 36 megapixels too much, but 12 megapixels? The A7S actually has taught me that 12 megapixels is plenty. If you're complaining that it's not enough, you're most likely one of the pixel peepers that like to stare at your files at 100% and go, ooh, wow, look at that detail. Now, that really has nothing to do with photography or the image itself. When you resize the image for web, nobody's going to know that that was 36 megapixels or 5 megapixels. When you print, unless you're printing a billboard, you can still do that with 12 megapixels, by the way. Unless you're printing super huge and you want people to walk up to it within inches and go, wow, the detail is amazing, you're not going to miss it. Now, if I was a dedicated landscape photographer, I would go with something that had more megapixels just to have those extra details. Because you do lose detail in things like intensely filled landscape shots, like with many trees. You're going to see it in foliage. You're going to see the lower megapixel count. But unless you're printing huge, you're not really going to see it. And the only ones that are going to see it are the pixel peepers. So if you're a pixel peeper who gets enjoyment from oohing and eyeing the massive detail, you're not going to like this camera. But if you're someone who just wants a camera that is responsive, that can work with you in any light for photo or video, and I'm talking near pitch blackness. Again, I shot 80,000 ISO, 1/10 of a second. That tells you how dark it was. And I got a usable file in color. It holds the color, it holds the dynamic range. 80,000 ISO is usable. 102,000 ISO is usable. Past that, I would say it's not. But there's not a camera alive today that can do what the Sony A7S does. So I'm going to tell you right now that this camera right here is my favorite Sony camera ever. I love the RX1 and RX1R, and that comes in second for me with Sony. But this is more versatile. It comes in at less money, without a lens, of course. By the time you add a lens, you're paying more money than the RX1. But you're getting a lot more versatility. You're getting to change the lenses. You're getting the EVF built in, which the RX1 does not have. You're getting much more intense low light performance. You're getting faster focus. You're getting, well, RX1 does silent shooting. But everything on this camera is geared towards usability and to get the most out of it. So when I first received the camera and I took a few shots at high ISO, I was like, oh, that's not as good as I thought it was going to be. But the more I used it and the more I really looked at the files, I started to become blown away. And then I was like, well, maybe it's not going to be as good in daylight. Maybe something's going to be lacking. The pop won't be there or something will be off. But when I started using it in daylight, I noticed that the pop was there. The color was even better than I remember the A7 and A7R being, as well as the auto white balance. I don't know what Sony tweaked, but everything is to my liking. There's only one thing I found that I wish this camera had, and that is if this camera had the Olympus 5-axis image stabilization in it, it would be the perfect digital camera for me. A lot of people say, well, I don't need ISO 80,000. All I need is up to 3200 and I need that to be clean. I used to say that all the time. I used to look at my photos and say, I only have a few every year that I shoot at 3200, nothing higher. And the reason for that is because I really couldn't. When I was out shooting this in near darkness at 25,000 ISO, 80,000 ISO, 16,000 ISO, and getting these results with it, I was like, wow, now I'm doing things that previously couldn't be done. That opens up a whole new avenue of creativity. This camera is basically the most creative camera you can buy right now because it opens up new possibilities. Going into a music club at night, like a bar where musicians play. There's one in Phoenix, and it's really, really dark. It's really tough for any camera without a flash to get really sharp, good results. I brought this in here and shot some at 25,600 with the Megapixels 50 f9.5, and I was very happy with the results. I had no issues with the results. They're beautiful. Actually, the artist in the band messaged me on Facebook and asked me to tag the photos, and she told me that the photos were beautiful and she used one as her profile picture. So that said it all right there, and that was at ISO 25,600. So that tells you right there it's usable. So if you look at the website at stevehufpphoto.com, I have loads and loads of photo samples from the A7R. Probably the most photo samples I've ever put in a review, and that is because I had so much fun pushing this guy to his limits. For me, the A7S, as it is, I mean, it's not perfect because it doesn't have any image stabilization. But besides that, it is probably my favorite camera that I've ever reviewed in the history of me reviewing cameras. And that is because there's no limitations. None. So if you want to go out and shoot at 1 in the morning at some super dark location, you can do it, and you could actually do it handheld. Long exposures, no problem. Video in low light, no problem. It's quite the camera, and the other thing I like about it is you can use M lenses on it, Leica M lenses. Now, the A7R and A7, every full frame digital has had problems with the Voigtlander 15 millimeter lens. This is the first full frame digital that doesn't. Even the M8 had problems with the 15 and color shifts. This is the first camera that doesn't have a problem. Now, all I've used Leica M mount wise is the Voigtlander and an old, right here, a reader sent this in for me to test out. It's a Zeiss 45 f2 planar, however you want to say it, and it worked beautifully on the A7S. Manual focus was not an issue. And the picture quality, the color was great. There was no problems. The Voigtlander worked very good. It worked better than it did on the Leica M240 for me. The mighty Megapixels f9.5 works beautifully on the A7S, and in fact, it's kind of a perfect match if you're a nocturnal, low-light, nighttime shooter. Then you have the 55-1.8 that's on the camera, and the Sony 35 2.8, which is also very beautiful on the camera. So I'm going to just go in here and show you real quick a couple things. But for the full review with the images and the written text, be sure to go to stevehufpphoto.com and you'll see all the image samples. But we're going to go into the menu and see what we got. Right here under the gear menu, see if I can get this closer. Item number 4 here is silent shooting. You want that on if you want the camera to be totally silent. So we're going to try something here. Let's see if I can get this to focus on something so I can shoot. Okay, you're going to hear me. I'm going to press the button. Dead silence. You don't hear the shutter. So with silent shooting enabled in the menu, you have that option. If you turn it off, it's the shutter sound. Okay, so that's in the menu, and I'd say half of the images in the review were shot in silent mode. So again, it's the 4th menu in the gear menu, 4th item down, silent shooting on. But the menu other than that is the same as the A7 and A7R. There's no difference between the menus here, except if you put the camera into video mode. Now, I'm not a big video guy, I'm not a video wizard, but if you go into video mode, there will be some extra options for you in the video side of things. So there's things like adjusting the gamma and the color and all of that good stuff. So you can actually do all kinds of cool things with video. So a lot of people who are buying this camera are buying it for the video capabilities. There's also 120 frame per second video that uses the APS-C portion of the sensor to shoot video that you can play back at a smooth, ultra slow motion frame rate, much like the Nikon V1 did back in the day. So with the Sony A7S, you have the same menu system, all the same features as the A7 and A7R, except you have that amazing sensor that is going to be low in file size, great in color and punch. They're going to be plenty sharp. You're going to be able to shoot in any lighting situation, light, dark. It has it has really great dynamic range. I've had not any problems with it whatsoever. Works well with the Leica M lenses I have used with it so far. Has silent mode, has 4K video if you use an external recorder, so you can shoot 4K video on this, even though I have not done so. Again, I'm not a video guy. So Sony is coming out with some really cool lenses this year and next year. We have an ultra-wide zoom on the way. That's going to be super high quality, and we have a Zeiss 50 1.2 that's supposed to be on the way, and that is something I'm really looking forward to. So there's the Sony A7S. It's an amazing camera if you can get by the 12 megapixels. And if you read my review, you'll see what those 12 megapixels look like. I have plenty of samples, and 98% of those images on the website review at stevehufpphoto.com are out of camera JPEGs. So what you see is what you get. That's another thing. I've been enjoying the JPEGs out of it, which is rare for me to enjoy a JPEG out of a Sony. So I'm looking forward to trying more Leica lenses with it, Zeiss ZM lenses, Voigtlander M mount lenses, because I think that this is the magic solution for those Leica shooters who want a separate full frame body. And to be honest, at $2,500, the A7S is much more versatile, much more capable, and does many more things than the Leica M240 at $7,000. This is the first A7 body that I can confidently say that about, even with the 12 megapixels. I have some prints that I'm going to put out at 20 by 30 to test it, or test the print quality. But if my old 4 megapixel Nikon D2H put out amazing 20 by 30s, I have no doubt that this will be even better. So there's the Sony A7S. Be sure to go to stevehufpphoto.com for the full written review with loads of samples. And if you like this video, thumbs up and subscribe. And I thank you very much for taking a look. Bye.